not having fun. Why don't I cook? I'm just not overly comfortable in the kitchen. You've got heat, knives, the whole burning the house down thing, but for whatever reason, cooking has always kinda stressed me out. But can the kitchen be a place to relax, even therapeutic maybe? Rick Martinez can help. He's seen the kitchen from all sides, and his comfort level behind the burner is seriously impressive, nearly transcendent. Today, I'm talking to Rick about his time in the kitchen and his approach to kitchen therapy. Rick's enthusiasm for cooking is so infectious that tonight I am canceling my takeout and I'm picking up the chef's knife. I'm Gabe Bolt, here to show you the small shifts that you can make in your life that will lead to a huge impact on your financial future. This is Big Change. The kitchen, not my favorite place. 3 times a day, the question is what to eat. Plus all the time that it takes to work and prepare a meal, sometimes I'd just rather order delivery. You shouldn't have to dread being in your kitchen. It should be one of the most relaxing, welcoming parts of your home. That's why I am changing my approach to the kitchen and using mindfulness. When people talk about practicing mindfulness, they're really just talking about being aware of what's happening in and around your body. So that's my plan. Start treating my time in the kitchen as a mindfulness exercise instead of a chore. I can use this space as my own private therapy office, and dinner's ready at the end of the session. But I could probably use some help with the basics, and that's where Rick Martinez comes in. Rick's worked in the culinary industry for decades. Now he's telling his story one meal at a time right here on YouTube. Rick, thanks for talking to me today. Rick, thank you so much for coming on. I'm really excited to talk to you.
Thanks for having me. Now I'm excited to talk about it as well.
So would you mind just telling me a little bit about what was it about cooking that drew you to wanting to become a chef?
I love cooking for big groups of people. So you fill my house with 20 people, everyone is going to be well fed. Like the most horrific thing to me would be to run out of food.
I think food is something that everybody really enjoys. It's one of the highlights of life if you do it correctly. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us about a full circle moment in the kitchen where you really felt like I made it?
When I graduated high school, I had applied for university, but I had wanted to go to culinary school. And my parents were like, no, get a real degree, don't go into cooking. And I ended up doing that. And then I got a job in advertising, and I worked in advertising for 16 years. And I was really good at it, and I was making a lot of money, and I was certainly very comfortable in New York. But I felt like there was a clock ticking behind me. And it was this sense that, you're getting older, and this desire to cook was getting stronger and stronger. That was probably the hardest decision of my life because, I knew what that meant. I was gonna have to pay a lot of money to go to culinary school, and then I was going to be working essentially minimum wage to work in a restaurant. And I made that decision, and it was really hard and it was really scary, but it was the best thing that I've ever done.
Wow, making that jump must have been really scary, but it's always nice to hear someone taking a leap into something that they really love.
I mean, I've heard chefs talk about this idea that food chooses you, you don't choose it. Because why would you choose a career where you're gonna work 18 hours a day for very little money? But there's just something so powerful and so intoxicating about being passionate about food. And when you are passionate about food, you do ridiculous things.
Well, clearly cooking is not a stressful thing for you. It's your passion. It's something that relaxes you, but that's not really the case for everyone. I think there's a lot of people who get really stressed out and overwhelmed in the kitchen. What are some tips that you would give them to keep it enjoyable?
When you start with something really ambitious, it's difficult and you might not get the success you need. So bite off little pieces and then get that little win. But I think another thing that makes it more fun is to invite your friends into the kitchen and cook with them. Everybody is doing a job and you're creating this big meal, you're drinking, you're laughing, you're joking, and it's not about the work, and it doesn't seem like work because you're just hanging out with friends. And in the end, that pulls the work and the tedium out of cooking.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, some of my favorite memories are just sitting around the dinner table with my family every Sunday. Do you feel like mindfulness is applicable to cooking?
100%. Not only is mindfulness important for the dish itself, it's also, there's a dangerousness when you are not present. I think, certainly for line cooks, professional cooks, it's important that you are completely focused on what you're doing, because one wrong turn could mean, a disaster. But I also think that part of being mindful is getting into that meditative zone, right? Like, there are certain actions that I take. Like, I love cleaning dried chilies, and you basically open them up, you take the stem off, and you pull the seeds out, and there's something that's just so calming and relaxing to me, and I could literally just do that for hours. And so I do go into this sort of zone where I'm at one with what I'm doing with the chilies. Regardless of what is happening in my life, I can go into the kitchen and I can cook something, and everything else around me goes away.
So do you think practicing something like cooking, maybe where you're chopping vegetables over and over again, feels similar to mindfulness?
I think practice is good for skill. I think the mindfulness, I think you have to find something that you really like. Think about the end product, right? Like, don't think about the thing that you're doing. I hate cleaning shrimp. I absolutely, it's one of the, it just drives me insane. The shrimp in Mazatlan are probably some of the best that I've had in the world. And so whenever I make a shrimp dish, I know that I'm gonna have to go through this cleaning process, which I loathe. But on the other side is this amazing dish that I'm preparing.
The main reason that I cook is honestly because I'm hungry. But maybe I'll have to start looking at that final dish as kind of a reward. I really like that approach. Okay, give us your best kept secret, like your favorite cooking hack. What tip do you think would help most people in the kitchen?
Having the right tools is important. My mother's knives were so dull, and watching her cut an onion, it was as if she was sawing it with, a toothbrush. It was just painful to watch. If you have a knife that's not sharp, if you have a pan that is warped, it's not as fun. It becomes more work, right? If you go to a restaurant supply store and you buy a $20 restaurant supply store knife, those things are razor sharp, and it will change your cooking, because now you don't have to saw through that onion, you can just slice through it. And then that makes your life a little easier. And same thing with a pan. If you invest in a really good pan, or cast iron, I love cast iron skillets. If you take care of it, it becomes a non-stick skillet. You can cook anything in it, and they're pretty cheap. You can get one again for $20. And now all of a sudden you have a sharp knife and a powerful skillet, and cooking is easier.
Well, I don't have a cast iron pan or an even remotely sharp knife, so that's definitely where I think I should start. That's a great tip. I just need to start upgrading my kitchenware. What would you say your kitchen setup and organization is like? Do you have a certain system that works well for you?
I think it's a very personalized experience for what you like and what you do. When you're a line cook, the efficiency of motion is so important. Cooking is like a dance. It's all about the movement, and every dish is its own dance step, right? So if all of your equipment and your ingredients are laid out efficiently in front of you, then making a dish is about taking a step this way and reaching over and getting a little bit of this, and then you pivot and move this way and you grab a little bit of that. When I realized that it was the movement and not the dish, then it was just easy, right? Then I knew what the movement was, and it was very fluid. And so my kitchen is laid out like that. Find your favorite place in your kitchen to stand or to prep, and then have everything that you use frequently within arm's reach. And it will completely change the way that you think about cooking.
So I know you have a kitchen renovation going on. Would you mind just kind of giving us a little update about that? I know you're thinking of doing like a rooftop kitchen. Like, what's going on with that?
So it's been really incredible. When I started writing the book in 2019, I had thought, well, maybe what would be better is if I bought an apartment in Mexico City. This house was for sale. It had been renovated. It's a 100-year-old house. It was completely gut renoed, and I would pass it every day on my way to the market. I would look in the window, and the light in the kitchen is incredible. As much as I love the kitchen is really my workspace. It's a studio. It's a professional environment. It's where I make my money. So it needs to look good, and it needs to be functional. It needs to allow me to do what I do, which is write books and make videos. None of this would have been possible without good financial planning. And I wish I could say that I was responsible for that. The only thing that I did is I didn't want to do it, so I hired somebody else to do it for me. And it was incredible. You know, as a 20-year-old, I didn't really know the importance of saving. I'd seen my parents do it, and I knew what it did for them, but I just wanted to spend, right? You know, I was into making money and getting that promotion. But what it allowed me to do is be able to buy this house and realize the dream, right? Of having the perfect kitchen for photo shoots. Without having that cash as a cushion, I never would have been able to do that. And certainly any future renovations to the roof and the outdoor kitchen would not have been possible. Or even changing careers, having the security knowing that I could go to a minimum wage paying job for a couple of years and not be scared was an incredible peace of mind. And that's all because of financial planning.
Yeah, for me, getting my finances in order was definitely the first and the hardest step. And I think it is for most people when they're looking to buy a home. But it's really cool that you were financially prepared and you were able to make, you know, this dream a reality. Rick, thank you so much for joining us. It's been great talking to you. Thank you for all the tips, and really appreciate it.
No, thank you guys. It's been my pleasure.
I really loved that conversation with Rick, and I'm gonna try to take some of his advice here and really just try to enjoy every part of the cooking process. You know, I gotta cook more, there's no way around that, but the more you use this space, the more comfortable you'll be with it. So soon, I'm hoping I'll be able to move around with my eyes closed. Well, soon enough anyways. And like Rick said, cooking is like a dance, so it makes sense to organize your space around your most common needs. If you're trying to get comfortable in the kitchen, you've gotta set yourself up for success. Keep spices on hand so you can reach for the salt as quickly as flipping off a light switch. For a little zen in your space, you can add some touches like herbs to the windowsill. Plant life is good for your brain, the air, and well, pretty much everything. Besides, great smells are a proven mood booster. Very therapeutic. What's important in your kitchen is up to you, and so is how big you go. Does bright light feel healing? That could simply mean upgrading your light fixtures. Cramped space with no flow? A quick declutter of your countertops and some reorganization might be all that you need. And that's the thing. When it comes to kitchen therapy, it's entirely up to you. There are plenty of options when it comes to improving your kitchen, from small changes to complete gut renovations. So be sure to assess your needs and your budget. And if you need some help, it might be time to start your search on Rocket Homes. Now, to meditate on what I want for dessert. Thank you to Rick Martinez for coming on today. If you guys want to see more big change, you can click right over there. And if you enjoyed this, don't forget to drop a like and also subscribe down below.